So you weren't in the loop about the trip to the Bahamas? I could hear my sister Sarah's feigned worry over the phone. I just assumed Mom had filled you in. The whole family is heading there next month. It'll be Mom, Dad, me, and Brian. Although someone has to keep an eye on their furry friends while we are away. Mom mentioned she would reach out to you about it. I was standing there in my kitchen, holding my coffee mug so tightly I was afraid it would shatter. I'm Lisa Mitchell, and as a 27-year-old, I just found out that my whole family had organized a getaway to a tropical island without even considering inviting me. What really stung was finding out completely by chance during what I thought was just a regular phone call with my sister about our mom's birthday coming up. No, actually, Sarah, Mom hasn't said a word to me about the Bahamas, I responded, trying to keep calm, or that they needed someone to pet sit. Oh, you know how she gets, Sarah giggled. She likely just spaced it. But your schedule is pretty open right now, isn't it? You can take care of Rocky and Max for the week. Mom was counting on you because you're the only one staying behind, the only one not going. Clearly, because they never extended an invitation. I started thinking about all those family meals where they must have been talking about this trip, being careful to steer clear of the subject whenever I was around. All those hushed talks that suddenly stopped when I walked in the room were now starting to click. The way my mom had been casually asking me about my availability at work. Even my father had lately been showing some curiosity about my dating life. He was likely hoping I'd have social commitments for the weekend that would keep me from being available to watch their animals. My mother eventually phoned me later that night. Sweetheart, I've been wanting to get in touch with you because we need a big favor. I bet you want me to take care of the dogs while you guys are enjoying yourselves in the Bahamas, right? I couldn't keep the resentment out of my tone. Ah, Sarah let the cat out of the bag. Yeah, it really would be a tremendous help if you did. You're aware of how Rocky gets stressed out at those boarding places, and Max has to have his meds 2 times every day. We'll only be away for a little over a week. I just tuned in as my mom went on and on regarding the departure times and specifics about the resort, without ever noticing they'd deliberately left me off the list for the family getaway. There wasn't even a half-hearted, "It's too bad you can't join us." Or, "Maybe we can all go together at some point." She kept talking about the specific type of food Rocky had to have and the very precise times Max needed his pills, almost like this information would somehow excuse the fact that they had put together this whole family trip and never even mentioned it to me. "So you're going to do it, right?" she inquired enthusiastically. "Your dad already canceled our kennel reservation." Throughout my life, my family had this habit of choosing what was best for me, without ever asking for my opinion or considering my feelings. In their eyes, I was just steady Lisa, the dependable one who never caused any problems, never refused them anything, and never complicated things with my own needs or wishes. I mumbled that I would consider it, already pulling up a travel site on my computer. This way of doing things had been going on for years. When Sarah got accepted into NYU, my folks threw a huge bash with personalized decorations, professionally prepared food, and everyone they knew came to celebrate their youngest daughter's accomplishment. When I got into Boston University a year prior, and with a full ride based on my grades, they just casually acknowledged it, saying something like, "That's good, honey." My acceptance letter was stuck to the refrigerator for only 48 hours before Sarah's schedule for her summer dance show took its place. My sister had always been the golden child. She was the entertaining one, the attractive one, the one who could do no wrong in their eyes. Even after she quit NYU after only 2 years to go find herself in Europe, my parents backed her decision, providing her with money each month for what they referred to as her journey of self-discovery. On the other hand, I held down 3 jobs during my college years, graduated with the highest honors, and created a thriving career in marketing, all of which gave me the rather questionable distinction of being the family's go-to person in case of emergency. That night, after speaking to my mom on the phone, I ended up browsing various travel sites online. There was one place in particular that really grabbed my attention, Santorini. It's this little Greek island I've been wanting to visit ever since I took that photography course in college. What was really incredible was that the timing lined up perfectly with my family's trip to the Bahamas, and get this, there was a sale on plane tickets too. As my phone started buzzing with messages from Sarah, my mouse pointer hovered over the button that said "Book Now." "Mom said you're acting strange about looking after the dogs." "Seriously, Lisa, just cooperate, okay? Besides, it isn't like you even have any vacation time saved up." And besides, what would you even do with some time off? You're never going anywhere interesting anyway. The truth is, I had 3 whole weeks of vacation time that I hadn't used. It was just that my family figured I never took time off because there was nowhere cool for me to travel to. They seemed to have forgotten about the travel blog I had been keeping for the past couple of years, which, little by little, had actually started getting some attention. They had just brushed that off as Lisa's little thing, just like they had dismissed my photography when I was in college and my writing back in high school. Next, my dad gave me a call. "Sweetheart, your mother is upset. You know how Rocky gets when he's at the kennel. He hardly ate when he was there last time." I finally had to ask, did it ever cross any of your minds to ask me to come along on the trip? The silence I heard after I said that spoke volumes. He finally said, "Well, Sarah said you probably wouldn't be able to get time off from work, and you're aware of how your mother likes to handle the planning. Oh, and also, Brian already paid the money to reserve their room." "Okay," I responded, in a very unenthusiastic tone. It's just like when she organized my college graduation celebration. Actually, scratch that, she didn't. Because a chance to study overseas popped up for Sarah seemingly out of nowhere, so the whole family had to jet off to Paris instead. Come on, Lisa, that's not very nice. Your sister was undergoing a journey of personal growth and needed her family there for her. I stared at the computer monitor, gazing at the image of the gorgeous Greek island that was calling my name. Something changed within me. Decades of constantly being the dependable one, the mature one, the person who would always put their own aspirations on the back burner for everyone else. It all coalesced into an instant of total understanding. "I'll give you an update about the dogs tomorrow," I told them, then ended the call and finalized the reservation for my ticket to Greece. The following morning, my phone was practically exploding with notifications. My mother had sent half a dozen text messages that ranged from trying to make me feel bad to simply telling me what to do. Sarah had left 3 messages on my voicemail, and each one managed to be more patronizing than the previous. Even my father, who typically avoided getting involved in our family squabbles, had sent me a lengthy email detailing why my behavior was out of line. I decided to hold off on sharing my decision until our regular Sunday night family dinner. They were all gathered at my folks' place as per usual, chatting about their soon-to-happen vacation in the Bahamas while my mom's lasagna sat steaming in front of them. I mentioned at some point in our conversation that I wouldn't be able to help out those days. "You'll have to get another person to take care of Rocky and Max." The sound of my mom's fork striking her plate echoed in the room. What's this about changing the plans? I thought. I mean, what could possibly take precedence over assisting your own flesh and blood? Oh, right, my journey to Greece. I took a drink of water, observing as their expressions transformed from puzzled to utterly unconvinced. "Greece, really?" Sarah chuckled. "You're not seriously planning a trip to Greece." I found my confirmed travel schedule on my phone and set it down on the table. "Well, newsflash, I actually am. 8 days on Santorini, beginning the very day you all head out for the Bahamas. But you simply can't go," my mom burst out. "But what about the dogs? The dog boarding place has no openings, seems like a lack of foresight to me." I was almost shocked at how calm my voice sounded. "Perhaps Sarah's boyfriend, Brian, could look after them, considering he's close enough to be going to the Bahamas." "That's not the same thing," Sarah argued. "Brian is my significant other. And besides, he gets allergic reactions around dogs. How very advantageous." I got to my feet, gathering up my belongings. "I have no doubt you'll manage to figure something out. You always find a way when it's something you really care about." "Lisa, take your seat," my dad commanded. "You're acting immature. This is uncharacteristic of you. I think that's the core of the problem, isn't it? You've all predetermined who I was destined to be. Always dependable Lisa, reliable Lisa, Lisa who's always free. Did it ever cross any of your minds that I might also desire to be a part of family holidays? That perhaps I might have my own desires, a life apart from all of you?" The quiet around the table was absolute. My mom looked like she might start crying, while Sarah just sat there with her jaw dropped. Dad just kept his eyes glued to his dinner, pointedly avoiding any contact with me. I announced my departure, saying that I had to leave and started towards the exit. "I've got to pick up some new bathing suits." Santorini is known for its incredible shores. The aftermath played out almost exactly as I had imagined. My mother started a serious guilt trip offensive, getting every family member she could to join in. My Aunt Carol phoned to let me know how self-centered my behavior was. My cousin Rachel sent me extremely long text messages about the importance of sticking with your family. Even my grandma got involved, although she mostly seemed puzzled about why I couldn't keep an eye on some dogs from Greece. Sarah, on the other hand, was a bit more straightforward. She showed up at my place without any warning. "You're only doing this to make us mad," she declared, just walking right in without even waiting to be asked. "This is out of character for you, Lisa. You've always been the dependable one, huh?" I echoed. "You really mean the easily used one? The one you expect to abandon my own life whenever any of you have a problem? That's simply not right. We value everything you do for us. Do you really? When did any of you ever demonstrate that you valued my contributions? When was the last time you actually considered my presence in any family activity instead of just assuming I would fill in the spaces?" Sarah practically fell onto my sofa, and her flawless blonde hair landed perfectly in place even though she was clearly annoyed. "We assumed that you wouldn't be interested in going to the Bahamas. It feels like you're always swamped with work. Did anyone even consider asking me? I mean, did it occur to anyone that I might actually want to go on vacation with you all? No, you didn't, and there's no excuse. All of you just jumped to conclusions about what I do with my time, my life, and what's important to me. And guess what? You became so accustomed to dismissing my feelings that you didn't even bother concealing your Bahamas getaway plans. That just shows how little you valued my input." Sarah's cheeks turned red. "My parents are really stressed out about this. The trip could be canceled if they can't locate someone to look after the dogs. That's their issue to deal with," I responded, throwing back one of Sarah's go-to sayings. "When did you become so heartless?" "I'm not heartless. I'm just finished with being the one everyone walks all over in this family." I pulled up my travel blog on my phone and showed it to her. "Take a look. I have followers who are genuinely interested in what I do. My existence isn't just about being the person you fall back on when you need something." Sarah looked through my blog, and her face changed from indifference to surprise. "These pictures are really impressive. Since when have you been into taking pictures?" "I started 3 years ago, though no one seemed to notice." The following family meal was awkward and uncomfortable. My mother had arranged all the dog supplies across the table in the dining room, trying to make me feel guilty. Rocky's specific diet, the schedule for Max's pills, their most cherished toys were all on display. As she detailed the complexities of looking after them, she wouldn't stop staring at me. She stressed, waving Max's medicine, that the pills need to be given with exactly a 12-hour difference, and Rocky has to have his special blanket at bedtime or he gets upset. I doubt the people at the kennel would comprehend any of this. "They will, I'm sure," I responded, as I dished out a larger portion of potatoes onto my plate. After all, that's essentially what they're there for. My father made a sound in his throat. "Honey, we could give you money to take care of them. We'd make it worth your effort." I reminded him, "My payments for the Grease car racing school were $3,000, Dad, and I couldn't get that money back." Sarah, who had been quieter than usual since her visit to my place, suddenly started talking. "I was looking through Lisa's online journal about traveling last week," she asked. "Did you all realize she has over 20,000 people reading her posts?" My mom hardly paused from organizing the animal care products. "That's nice to know, sweetheart." She continued, "Now, what about the dogs?" I responded, "No, Mom, I'm serious about this." "Check out the images she took in Montreal last year," Sarah stated as she brought up my travel blog on her phone. "She's honestly really talented at this." For the first time that evening, my mom's gaze actually met mine. She wasn't looking past me or around me but directly at me. "You traveled to Montreal?" I replied. "I've been to many places. I make sure to go on quick trips whenever I have the chance. I create posts about those trips and take photos. People act upon my suggestions concerning hotels and restaurants." My dad took a close look at the phone in Sarah's hand. "Lisa, these photos are of a professional standard," he stated. "Why didn't you inform us about this?" "I did," I retorted. "That was 3 Thanksgiving holidays ago." I reminded them. "You all immediately switched the topic to Sarah getting certified in yoga." The silence that followed was thick with shared acknowledgement. Mom plopped down hard, still holding onto Rocky's favorite tennis ball. I guess we haven't been the best at hearing what you've been saying, have we? That's right, I responded plainly, you really haven't. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that we're still going to need someone to look after the dogs, she tacked on rapidly. And just like that, the intensity of the moment vanished. I got to my feet. I'm heading to Greece, Mom, whether or not you give me your okay. Perhaps it's high time you all got a taste of how it feels when your own plans get messed up. As the day I was leaving drew nearer, my family went through every single stage of grief. Mom shifted from disbelief to being mad, labeling me as unappreciative. Dad tried to haggle with me, suggesting he'd pay for an alternate trip to Greece at a more suitable time. Sarah switched back and forth between feeling down, saying I was wrecking everything, and finally accepting it. Maybe we should have asked you to come along. 2 days before my plane took off, Mom gave it one last shot. She came to my place carrying photo albums with photos of me watching Sarah's dog when she was over in Europe, looking after our pets growing up, being the dependable one. You've always been great with animals, she commented, thumbing through the pages. Do you remember how you nursed Sarah's hamster back to being healthy when you were in high school? I do remember. I also recall missing my friend's 16th birthday party in order to do it, while Sarah was hanging out at the beach with her friends. That's not the same, you didn't seem to mind back then. No, Mom, I did mind. I just wasn't able to express that at the time. She shut the album abruptly. Well, I hope you're satisfied with yourself. Our vacation had to be called off, plain and simple. The dog boarding place was completely booked, and there wasn't anyone else available to watch the dogs for such a long period. I paused a bit before responding to what had been said. I simply got my laptop out and turned the screen so she could see it. Displayed on the screen was a message from Mrs. Chen, the pet-loving neighbor in our building, confirming that she would look after Rocky and Max for a price. I told her that I had managed to find an answer. Mrs. Chen is retired, absolutely adores dogs, and resides 2 floors below us. She's willing to do it for the same amount you would have spent at the boarding facility. My mother just looked intensely at the screen. Why didn't you mention this earlier, though? Because for once in my life, I wanted all of you to experience how it feels when I'm not there as your fail-safe. To truly grasp the sensation of when someone throws a wrench in your meticulously crafted arrangements without thinking about how you feel. Isn't that being rather small-minded, do you think? I replied to my mom with a simple no. That's more like being a person with real feelings. And maybe the next time you guys are organizing a family trip, you'll remember this feeling and perhaps consider including your other daughter in the plans. On the day I was supposed to fly out, I woke to a whole bunch of notifications on my phone. I found out that my mom had actually tagged me in a post on social media, something she had never done previously. It was a photo lifted from my travel blog, one that I took while in Montreal, accompanied by a long caption detailing how proud she was of her gifted daughter, and mentioning how she was eager to see the gorgeous pictures from Greece. Almost instantly, Sarah sent me a text. Mom's attempting to maintain her reputation with her social circle. She's spreading the word that she played a role in helping me organize my trip to Greece. I can't say that I was particularly shocked by this. My mom always cared so much about appearances. She must have figured that having a daughter with a popular travel blog was a status symbol she could boast about at her tennis gatherings. However, her half-hearted attempt at offering support didn't make up for years of ignoring me. Before I left for the airport, my dad came by, holding a new camera lens in a clumsy manner. He extended the lens towards me, explaining that my sister had shown him my blog. I had mentioned wanting that particular one for pictures in dimmer lighting situations, as I recalled. He figured I might be able to put it to good use during my trip to Greece. It was the very lens I'd been slowly saving my money to buy. A part of me felt like turning it down, just to prove I wasn't dependent on their support that came so late. But I detected something in my dad's gaze that I hadn't witnessed before, a real interest in what I loved to do. I said thanks, taking the present from him. Would you like to see some of the photos I'm planning to capture using this? For the next hour, he sat with me, really paying attention while I talked about things like framing and the importance of good light. Right then and there, he even pulled up my blog on his phone and became a follower. As he was heading out, he mentioned that he decided not to go on the Bahamas trip and told my mother and sister to go on without him. I responded by saying that he really didn't need to do that. He said that it was something that he had to do. Someone needed to take proper care of the dogs, and Mrs. Chen might need help if something went wrong. He stopped for a moment near the doorway. Also, I'm looking forward to seeing the pictures you take in Greece as you post them. Perhaps you could show me how to leave a comment on a blog. As I got on the plane to Greece that afternoon, my phone began to vibrate with incoming messages. Sarah had actually sent a genuinely nice message. "Have a great trip, sis." She also added a request, stating I better take amazing photos. Mom had sent me a text explaining how to log into their home surveillance system so I could keep an eye on the dogs. She totally missed the point, but I guess it was good that the guilt trips had ceased. However, it was a message from my father that got me choked up. "I just left my first ever comment on your blog. I hope I did it correctly. Just be sure to prioritize your own well-being while you're over in Greece and don't just focus on taking pictures. Love you, Dad." As I got comfortable in my seat, I couldn't help but think about how sometimes it takes a rather grand move to disrupt people's usual behavior. For years, my family had basically typecast me as the dependable, yet unimportant, person in their lives. Perhaps now they'd finally recognized I was in charge of my own life and ambitions. Santorini exceeded all my expectations and was absolutely incredible. Every morning I would wake up to breathtaking sunrises over the churches with their striking blue domes, and spend my days capturing shots of twisting, turning streets paved with cobblestone and idyllic, untouched shores. My blog's audience seemed to really enjoy the daily posts, but what really caught me off guard was the comments coming from my family. My dad commented on absolutely every single entry, his typing skills progressing from beautiful sunset honey to genuine, insightful points regarding light and the way things were composed. Sarah had been resharing my posts on her own social media accounts and marking me in messages that read something like, "Look at what my incredible sister is doing," a complete 180 from how competitive she usually is. Mom, though, decided to do things a little bit differently. She would ring me up every day with news about the pups, almost as if she was trying to make me remember what I had walked away from. She might tell me something like, "Rocky's really missing you," or "Max refuses to eat unless your dad gives him bites from his hand." After those attempts to make me feel bad didn't work, she changed her approach and would phone to criticize the pictures I was posting online. "Do you really think you need to put up quite so many pictures of sunsets?" That restaurant write-up seemed a little mean-spirited too. "You wouldn't want to damage anyone's livelihood." As I was sitting at a cafe perched on a cliff one night, I got a surprise call from Mrs. Chen. "Your mom has popped in here half a dozen times already today," she told me, sounding like she was having fun with it. "She brings coffee and asks tons of questions about how I handle pet sitting. It seems like she's struggling with giving up being in charge." I was about to say I'm really sorry when Mrs. Chen started laughing. "No need to be. I told her that after being a high school teacher for 40 years, caring for 2 dogs is nothing." She didn't seem to care for that very much. Later that same evening, I got a message just for me from my father. "Your mother has checked into a hotel on her own for the rest of their trip to the Bahamas. She claims she can't relax knowing that people she doesn't know are taking care of her dogs." Sarah's pretty bummed out about it. I experienced a brief stab of guilt, but then I remembered all those times my own ideas, requirements, and wishes had been disregarded for the sake of keeping the family peaceful. My mom creating problems on her own vacation wasn't something I should feel responsible for. Instead of choosing to end my vacation early or saying sorry, I actually uploaded even more pictures. I started writing about traveling alone as a woman, about getting away from what my family wanted for me, and about discovering my own direction in life. The reaction I got was incredible. I received a ton of comments from people who had similar experiences, who were grateful to me for giving them the courage to advocate for themselves. My blog's readership increased to twice its original size, and then to 3 times as many readers. A magazine about travel contacted me, wanting to publish my pictures from Greece. Sarah rang me up to say that all of the people taking her yoga classes were keeping up with my travels, and they wanted to know when I'd be available to teach a class on photography at her studio. Do you want to know what the funny part is? I always assumed I was the courageous one, going all the way to Europe to figure out who I was, but you're the one who really accomplished it. You figured things out about yourself while you were right here with us, and we were too caught up in our own problems to even realize it. During my final evening in Greece, I was sitting on the porch connected to my hotel room uploading some images when my mom sent me a text that really took me by surprise. It showed my old bedroom, which she now uses as an office, decorated with pictures of my travels in nice frames. She told me that she had taken my best photographs and had them professionally framed. She felt they should be displayed in a better way than just sharing them again on social media. Underneath, that was a longer message for me. I have been reflecting on things a lot while you have been away. Dad made an observation that stung, something I hadn't wanted to acknowledge. We'd grown so accustomed to your presence, we'd overlooked your personal aspirations. Apologizing doesn't come naturally to me, but I'm making an effort to demonstrate my affection for you in other ways. Mrs. Chen kept me updated with daily snapshots of the dogs, each illustrating Rocky and Max thriving despite the absence of Mom's constant fussing. The last photo showed Dad guiding her through the intricacies of my blog, both beaming at the camera as the dogs relaxed peacefully in the vicinity. Sarah's last batch of vacation images from the Bahamas stood in stark contrast to her typically posed and polished shots. "Attempting to perceive the world as you do through the lens," she wrote as a caption. "They're not nearly as striking as yours, but I'm learning to observe with more intention. Everything had felt a bit different when those 8 days concluded. My family was anything but flawless." My mom still flooded my inbox with daily messages concerning the dogs, my dad still wrestled with understanding gadgets, and Sarah still had flashes of envy. However, they were putting forth effort. And sometimes, that's the most one can hope for. It wasn't a total overhaul, but rather an openness to perceive you from a fresh perspective. Half a year after my trip to Greece, my family reunited for Thanksgiving. The walls of the dining room were now adorned with a blend of my travel photography interspersed with our usual collection of family portraits. Mom had repurposed my blog's emblem as place settings for the table, a subtle act that conveyed a great deal. "We have something we want to share with you," my mom declared as we were eating. "We're organizing another family getaway." I mentally prepared myself for the same old feeling of being left out, but then Sarah spoke up unexpectedly. "Before you get a chance to say anything, we would really appreciate if you'd lend us a hand in figuring this out. Since your blog readers were so into your stuff about Greece, we were wondering if you could bring that same special something to our next family vacation." Dad took out a folder he had been holding. "I have been looking into photography tour in Italy. I was hoping you might be able to show us a few tricks for taking better shots, instead of just snapping pics of ourselves and the dogs." Also, my mom chimed in, attempting to keep her tone light. "Mrs. Chen has already said she's happy to look after Rocky and Max." I had asked her about this several months back, just to make sure. I scanned the faces around the table, truly observing them for the first time in a while. Mom, still exhibiting her controlling tendencies, but trying to express them in a new way. Dad, finding a different way to connect with me through our shared interest in photography. Sarah, finally acknowledging me as a real person, rather than someone she's competing with. "Italy sounds absolutely amazing," I responded, reaching for my phone to share some preliminary concepts with them. "But I'm going to be the one putting together the schedule this time." "That's just how it should be," my dad grinned. "After all, you're the one who really knows what she's doing."